Welcome to the very first episode of Business Journey Unlocked, the show where we sit down with founders and leaders to uncover the ideas, mindset, and movements driving real growth. Today, we are kicking things off with a conversation that leans heavily into the grit, determination, and inner drive required for true success. I'm honored to welcome Jordan Toma to the show. Jordan is someone who simply refuses to set limits regardless of the challenges he's faced. Over the years, he's built an impressive list of achievements, transitioning from door-to-door sales to insurance and eventually becoming a financial advisor. What truly sets the story apart is his determination and the powerful message he shares as the founder of I'm Just a Kid with an IEP, a motivational speaker, published author. He embodies the human element of true entrepreneurship that the show is all about. Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today and help launch this show. To get things started, can you just tell the audience a bit about yourself and what really drives you?
Yes, and Kevin, I'm honored to be the first one, so I'm excited to kick this off. What drives me is that every day I think about how I used to feel about myself prior to
Mm.
getting here, and I constantly still trying to prove to myself that I can do it. In a weird way, because when I was younger, I always felt like I wasn't good at school, I wasn't good enough, and I was never going to be okay. So that is my internal drive, and then as I used that to help me get to this point in my life, and I was like, you know what? I I want to go back and make sure I reach all the kids that ever felt like that too. And I didn't want them to give up on themselves, because when I was in school, right, I gave up on myself because it was hard. And then when I gave up on myself in school, I started to give up on myself outside of school and in life and anything I have ever dreamed of in my future. So everything kind of led to me just giving up on myself. And I promised myself, once I figure this out, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make sure no one ever gives up on themselves, because things might not go your way for a long time. Things might not happen for you right away. It might feel like it's never going to work out. But I know if you keep showing up and you keep trying and you keep going for it, doors do open. You do figure it out. And more importantly, who you become as you figure it out is worth more than actually getting there. You know what I mean? It's the person you become. And that's what I try to show the students and the people and even the corporations I speak to. It's like, hey, it's not about getting the award or winning everything, right? It's about who you became to get it and what you did to get it. And that's the real reward. So, I'm fighting for myself and all the youth and everyone that's ever doubted themselves, and I'm still in that fight. So that drives me. That keeps me going.
Yeah, at a young age, it is very hard to get out of that mindset, that kind of depressive state, because that's all you think about. And then what happens? You just view the whole world at negativity. So just having somebody like yourself kind of show you can break that pattern. There's light at the end of the tunnel, right? It's just having
Right,
somebody
right.
like
There's
that,
like
having that true motivation, just somebody like a resource, right? That really helps out. So let me ask you this. Was there was there a certain moment when you realized your story wasn't just something you lived through, it was something that needed to personally be shared? Like, what was the defining factor? I'm just a kid with an IEP. I wanna start going to schools, write a book. Like, what was the underlining factor to just starting this whole thing?
Yeah, so it's crazy. So all right. So when I was in college, right? So I got into I so I graduated high school with a 1.7 GPA, and I had no college to go to. And my mom was like, "Hey, you got to go to college. You got to do this. I believe in you. I know you can do it." And I was so scared of going to college because every time I went to a new school, I would fail out, and I didn't want to go. But my mom said, "Jordan, this is a place where you could change your life. Please give this a chance. People are going to believe in you." And I went. And when I was in school and I was getting better and I was figuring out the way that I learned and I was building confidence, the school would do these child study team luncheons. And what they would do is, so I went to school in Hackettstown, New Jersey. And what they would do is they'd reach out to all the surrounding towns and they would say, "Hey, we're going to do a luncheon at Centenary. Child study team members come to the luncheon and speak to some of the students that use accommodations in college, just to understand our program, because I was part of this program called Project Able, and I would get extra time on my test. I would get note takers. Sometimes I would get test readers, right? Things that would help me get through the things that were hard for me. So we went to this luncheon, and I remember sitting at like a table, and I never talked to anyone about this. I was still trying to figure my own life out. And they said, "Hey, Jordan, we want you to come." So I went, and I was sitting with a table of all these child study team members. And the one woman looks at me, and I remember I just got out of my dorm room. I walked downstairs. I didn't know. I was just sitting there, trying to just meet everyone. And the lady looks at me and she says, "What's it feel like to be in college with a learning disability?" And I remember I didn't know what to say. And I just looked at her and I said, "I don't know. I'm just a kid with an IEP." And everyone started laughing. They're like, "That's the greatest name ever. I love that." And everyone just like took it as like this positive, because I didn't know how to respond. I just said that. And then when I said that, I said to myself, that's something, right? But I didn't know what it was, right? I didn't know. And that was the beginning of like unlocking like what I was doing. And I started to think of my life more than just for my life. I was thinking like, how many people can I help by not giving up on myself? And I started to work harder and harder and harder. So then when I graduated, I had this like momentum where like I was like, hey, like I can do this. Like I just overcame college. That was like my biggest fear ever. Like I can do anything now. Whatever comes my way, I'm gonna do it. And it was 2000. So I graduated college in 2012. I worked at that window company. Then I became an advisor. And around 2015, I was pretty successful as an advisor. I was doing things I never thought I can do. I graduated college. I was successful as a door to door window. So all these things were happening. I passed all those hard. I had one more exam to pass. 2015, Centenary called me out of the blue, and they're like, "Hey, we're doing a big event. Can you speak at the event?" And I've never spoke ever before. And it was all these child study team members again, but they were coming to the theater and they wanted me to speak and share my experience at Centenary. And I was scared. I was actually scared because I've never spoken in front of anyone. And then public speaking is scary no matter what, right? It's just scary. And no matter how many times I've done it, I'm always scared, right? And I remember sitting there and and in my car, and I was like, all right. I was like, I'll do it. I'll do it. They said, "Okay, we'll see you there." And I remember hanging up going, I have no idea what I'm gonna say. And I remember driving around like thinking about what I was gonna say and like overthinking everything. And this is the moment when I realized I had to do this. There's two moments. This is one of them for like the teacher side and the parent side. So I went there scared, had no idea what I was going to say. And I stood up and there was like maybe 100 people there. And I was on the stage and I spoke. And when I spoke, I, um, I was done and then I got the standing ovation, right? And then they all came up to me and like they were like, "You gave us so much hope for our students, for our kids, right?" And all this stuff that I never thought I was even going to be able to do. And at that moment, I realized, this is more than just my story. This is a lot of other stories out there that are just like this. That I gotta run with this. I gotta help them. And then after I did it once, I'm like, I gotta do this again. But the problem was I didn't have a social media following. I didn't have a track record. I didn't have a website. I had nothing, right? I just had my life. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I bought a list of every high school principal in the United States online. And then I would stay up all night long and copy and paste and personalize emails. "Hey, I'm a motivational speaker and I wrote a bio. I wrote a bio. I wrote a bio." Boom. It's like 4 in the morning. My eyes were like burning. And I would do this for hours and hours and hours on top of selling insurance. And one day, dude, one day I was at work. I got an email on my personal email that I've emailed hundreds of times. And it was someone from a school, and they said, "Hey, we need a motivational speaker in October. We only have $500." I wrote back, "I'll do it." Right? I didn't even care about the $500. I just wanted to do it. I just wanted a chance to go speak. I had no idea where this school was. I look at the bottom and it says Covina, California. I'm like, "It's in California?" But I already said yes. And I looked up the flights, and the flights were like $670. So like they were just covering basically it was a negative, right? And I remember I came home and I said to my wife, I was like, "Kate, I'm gonna go speak in California." She's like, "Are you getting?" My wife's like, "Hey, oh, well, are they gonna, that's great. Are they gonna pay for it?" I'm like, "Well, they're gonna be $500, but the plane ticket's $650." So she's like, "That doesn't make sense." I'm like, "It doesn't matter." I'm like, "I'm going for the kids. I want to learn. I want to speak. It's more than that." Like it didn't matter to me. I was like ready to go. Hopped on a plane, got an Uber, I get to the school, dude, 700 kids, never spoke in front of a high school in my life, and a high school crowd is a tough crowd. It's a tough crowd to speak to because you can't lose them. You gotta engage them. You gotta work hard, and the only way to become a good speaker is to go out and speak hundreds of times to figure out your style and how you do it. I never did it, but I had this inside me that I had to do it, and I knew the only way you learn is by doing it before you even know how to do it. Right? You got to go for it, and I spoke, and when I was done speaking, I felt like I did so bad. I'm like, I did so bad. Like I was really hard on myself because sometimes we're our hardest critics. I was so like not happy with my how I felt, and I hopped on a plane, and I remember sitting on the runway, and I checked my email. I got an email, and it was just from one student, and she wrote back, "Hey, you were at my school today. I was going to give up on myself, but now I'm not." Right? That's all she said. And when I got that email, I was like, I got to do this. I got to do this, and that changed everything. And that changed everything for me. And that right there was everything. So that was the moment I realized, hey, I got to do this, and and that was like life changing for me.
Yeah, I mean, with anything, just starting out is the hardest thing, just trying to gain that momentum. But with your situation, it's you you didn't care about the money, you didn't care about the fame, all you just cared about was helping people. And just out of that 700 people, if one person absorbed your message, that's all that matters. Because then that one person is gonna change their life for the better. And it's
That's
just
right. One person that changed your life. That's it. That's all that mattered to me.
mhm, one person at a time. When people hear your message for the first time, what parts do they typically overlook that you wish they really didn't? You just want if any part were to resonate with them, you just want this part to resonate.
I think what I really work hard at doing is showing when I go speak, especially when I speak to high school or middle school, is showing them that they're not alone, that everyone struggles, right? And I really focus on that so they don't overlook that one part because a lot of times I speak at these schools that everyone thinks they're alone. Everyone thinks they're the only one. But the truth is, if you look around, everyone's struggling with something. And when you realize you're not the only one, you realize you're not alone. And what that does is it creates everyone to have a lot more empathy for everyone and see each other in a different way and more build each other up. Because if someone might be struggling at home, and the other person might be struggling at school, or maybe the other person might be struggling something they never told anyone ever about. Like those are all struggles, but in different ways. And when you realize, hey, like we're all struggling, right? But that's the reason why we're gonna make it. That's the reason why we're not alone. Like we're in this together. Like life is hard. The world is hard. Things are unfair, right? Especially when we're younger, it's hard. But when you realize you're not the only one, you feel less alone, and that gives you hope, and that's what I really want the students to really focus on, and I hope they don't overlook, when I give my message. That's part of my message, but that's the most important part for me, for them to understand.
Mm,
I remember thinking it was me, just me, just me, just me, and it's not.
yeah, it's very hard when you're going through something, you think you're only going through it yourself, but there's like you mentioned, everybody goes through hardships in life. That's just completely normal. Nothing is easy in life. God makes challenges for a reason, and helps us build on ourselves to make ourselves stronger and better and more resilient.
That's it.
With everything
That's what it's all about.
everything shifting and how people learn, communicate, and get inspired today, what changes have you noticed in how audience are connecting with your message?
I've noticed that what they're doing is they're looking at their life and they're connecting my message with their life. That's what they're doing. So they're not when they hear me speak, they're not just listening to me and thinking about me, they're thinking about themselves. And that's what everyone does. Because I just received hundreds of letters from kids from this middle school I spoke at on Long Island, and they all wrote me paragraphs of letters. And in the letters, they shared with me their story and then where they connected my life with their life, and that's what they did. So it's not even about me up there, it's about them, and the cool thing is when you're in front of 700 high school kids or middle school kids, when they're listening to your story, they're not even thinking about my life, they're thinking about their own life, and that's what's important, that's what I want, because it's about them, it's not about me, but in the moment, for me, I'm doing it so they could think about themselves, and from getting those letters, it showed me that the whole time they're just thinking about their life, the things they struggle with, and why they're gonna be okay.
I think the hardest thing now, especially with the youth, is social media, right? And I know back in the day, with companies, they would brand their advertisements and in a way that I wouldn't say send a message to the youth, but kinda target them in a way, and it just what was on social media made them feel horrible about themselves. Social media drives not only youth, but just everybody. I remember when
Right,
Instagram
right.
I remember when Instagram had those like counts. I had people, like, I knew people that would revolve their whole life around those likes. It's just something in the
Oh,
brain
yeah.
just releases dopamine that you see that you're heard from your social,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And just having, that mindset, because as habits dictate how we think. So if people are constantly thinking like, "Oh man, I didn't get 1,000 likes on this post. I'm a horrible person. Oh man, not a lot of people saw my message." It makes people feel horrible about themselves. And
Yeah.
with
Pressure. Yeah.
with that in mind, it's a very scary thing. Obviously, since social media came around, there have been more implementations to prevent that, but it's never gonna go away. It's always gonna be there in some connotation that won't be removed, because at the end of the day, people want that energy. They wanna feel like they're heard and connected. So in that aspect, it is a little detrimental. When you were
Oh,
growing
yeah.
When you were growing up, you didn't have any of this social media. You didn't have All you just had was, a landline, or just,
And that's it.
just talk to your mom like, "Hey mom, I'm gonna be home when the sun goes down." But now
Yeah, yeah. That's it.
everybody's connected on social media. I mean, granted, it's very good to have that connection, but obviously there's pros and cons with everything. So
Right.
do you feel nowadays that it's more so revolved around social media, or do you think it's all in a whole and that environment just dictates everything?
I mean, I think, like, when it comes to kids struggling, um, I think that it's not just social media, right? Social media is a big part of it because it's a constant comparison, right, of what's going on around you, and that's hard. And, like, like, when we were younger, like, I never knew what anyone was doing. I didn't know. I had no idea. All I knew was what I was doing and maybe a couple of my friends riding our bikes. But now you can see. Now I think what's hard is, like, if you go on social media or whatever they use, Snapchat, and they post a video and they're all hanging out somewhere and there's another kid that's not invited, he finds out or she finds out, right? And I think that hurts a lot more, and it's a lot easier to realize that, hey, you're not at these places. Because when I was younger, when I was in school, especially in high school, I didn't go to any parties. I was never invited to parties, right? That wasn't back when I was in school. It was like, hey, this person's having a party, but I never knew about the parties. I had no idea. I would never know they were even happening, and I didn't know. I never knew. I wasn't invited. Now later in life, I've talked to some people. We always have parties. I never got invited to any of these parties, but I never knew. But if I knew there was these parties going on, right, I would feel like bad about it, right? Because I would just hang out with my four friends that we had, and we would hang out in the basement, play video games, do whatever. But I never knew um, all this was going on. But now you know what's going on. And if you're not invited, you're not like you might not fit in school. But if you and then you go home, whatever, and you have your group. But then if you don't realize that you're not fit in anywhere, and you see that outside of school you're not getting invited, all these things are going on. I think that social media part of that makes it harder. And I also think with social media, people can be meaner and they type things and they say mean stuff, and it's very easy to do that. I mean, some of these kids have a hard time at school. Kids aren't nice, and I see it. And then they go home on social media, and kids aren't nice on social media. So I think that's hard, and I think the comparison's hard, and just knowing that all this is going on maybe, and you're not invited is hard. And then you feel like kinda left out, left in the dust, and it's not really like that, but it looks like that. And it's hard to overcome that, especially as a kid. Like, when you're especially remember being in school, like, your whole life revolves around, like, sitting at the cool table, right, at lunch and all that kinda stuff, and you wanna be part of that, right? And if you're not, it's hard. And you look at everyone in a different way. Like, you just try to fit in. You want to fit in. But when you're younger, that's important. When you get older, you realize who you are anyway, and that never mattered. But when you're young, it's a big part of their world. And that's important to know, especially for me when I go to schools. Like, I know how important it is for some of these students to fit in, but I try to show them, hey, You're unique in your own way. You are you for in your own reason. Like you are going to be okay. And this is why. Like, don't ever change who you are because maybe you're not fitting in now. And I give this scenario. I say, hey, look at everyone here. It's high school, middle school, whatever. Everyone in here winds up at a different pace, right? We all wind up and take off at a different part in our life. Some of us wind up and take off in middle school. Some of us wind up take off in high school. Some of us wind up take off later in life. But everyone has a chance to wind up and take off. And then I try to show them the longer the windup, the better the takeoff, right? So if you wind, maybe it might take you to 27 to really take off, right? So what? That then you're really going to take off. You don't want to take off right away, man. That's not. You want to wind up, wind up, wind up, and then boom, right? And take off into the sky and then run with it. So I try to show them there's a finish line for everyone. Everybody has a different finish line. So but it's hard. It's hard with what's going on. It's just super hard, and, I do my best with, like, bringing that message together, but I see it being a really tough situation for kids. It's just hard. Even, like, I have kids too, like, I'm worried about it, and I'm still in my brain as I'm being a dad and trying to figure out my life and help these kids. I'm like, "Alright, time's coming, where my kids are gonna be older now, and there's gonna be social media, and I gotta be that I gotta be in the game," you know? I'm in the game. I'm ready to go. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna handle it, but I'm still learning.
That's a very powerful message, and I think that should really resonate with a lot of people because a lot of people like to compare to others. "Oh, this person's doing this. Why can't I be like this person?" But at the end of the day, especially on social media, it's it's all show, right? I mean, not every day is that person getting millions of dollars or flying on jets or going on yachts and everything. It's just you only show the good stuff. You don't show the raw, unfiltered stuff, and people forget that sometimes. People just look at what they see on the phone, and then they just dictate their whole life around that. Why can't I be as good as Jordan, or why can't I be? Why am I so stuck here? But if people don't get out of that mindset, as we mentioned, they're never gonna grow and continue because they're only gonna be stuck in their own prison. And what happens with that? You just keep on doing the same stuff.
Yeah,
You keep on getting the same habits, and that just won't go anywhere. Sure, yeah, this guy took off when he was 18 and you're 27 now, but that doesn't mean you should revolve your whole life in the future revolving around this one guy because you won't even remember this 5, 10 years down the line unless it really impacted you. But and it shouldn't
right,
because at the end of the day, you are your person. You are only with yourself 24/7. It's not your mom, it's not your dad, it's not your friend Joe. It's only you, and only you can make a change in your life. I like to say this analogy: you can lead a horse to water, but you can't let the horse drink it. Right? There's so much information that we have, and nowadays with social media, with the internet, with everything, it's so inundated and so connected that it's just amazing, right? There's just so much that's at play, but because there's so
yeah.
much at play, a lot of people take it for granted.
Right, right. Yeah, and it's hard to, like, sometimes separate yourself as, like, your own person because of it, so you gotta do it, you gotta look at your life, like, I remember I constantly, like, tell myself, like, "There's only one me," right? The way I view the world, like, the way you view the world, the way your ideas come to you, like, you just that's yours, like, that's no one else's, so take it and run with it, it's coming to you, you're thinking of these things, to act on like, I'm a big believer in just acting on it, like, you got an idea, just go, run with it, figure it out, right? It came to you, run with it, run with it, run with it. Everything I get an idea, I just run with it. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I run with it, and I take that as, like, a personal message for me, just like we all have that ability to do that, right? But if we start looking around and asking people what they think, then you're gonna get other opinions, and it's gonna mess with the way you think, and that's why it's important to trust yourself and trust who you are. Yeah, you can seek advice maybe with people that have already done what you want to accomplish, but be very careful on what you take in, especially when you have something you're going for, and your own life, because sometimes maybe you're the only one that can see it.
Exactly, exactly. So, with the message that you bring out to the public, you're expanding, you're reaching more people than you did when you first started. What's something new you're trying to build or expand?
Yeah, right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm actually in the process of right now opening up like a nonprofit. There's two things I want to do right now. Open up a nonprofit, and what I want to do is I want to raise money, And then I wanna go speak in the schools in the areas that don't have the ability to raise money to bring in speakers, and these students never get a chance for a good message or someone to come to their school. So what I wanna do is I wanna raise money, and the money's gonna go towards the travel and the giveaways for the kids, and I'm gonna speak for free, 100% free. That's all it's gonna be. So I'm gonna go to areas like, South Louisiana. I'm gonna go to, Montana. I wanna go to Wyoming. I wanna go to the middle of North Dakota, South Dakota, all the areas that don't get that chance. I want to go for free. So that's what I'm in the process of creating now because I want to build that and I want to go to the areas middle of Nebraska. I want to go where these kids never get a speaker, never had an assembly, but I want to go. They got the auditorium, they got the students, they just don't have the message and the ability to bring people in. So with this nonprofit, it's going to be able to afford me to go for free. I'm not going to take money as a speaking fee. All it's going to do is cover the travel and the gifts for the kids. That is it. And I'm going to go do it. I'm going to spend however long I do at all my schools, 2 hours at each school. And I also want to use the money that I raise to help kids. Maybe some kids are homeless, and I can help them in ways like that. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm actually in the process of getting it set up with the state, so I can finalize everything for the nonprofits created. I just got to kind of get everything legalized with the state of New Jersey, and then I can start raising money for that. And then I also want to open up a place where kids can come to after school to do their homework, to talk about their day, to maybe talk about their worries, and then maybe even like do something cool like rock climb, workout. I'm gonna have a whole thing set up. It's gonna be a cool place where like, hey, let's get our homework done, let's talk about our worries, and let's lift weights, let's rock climb, let's rope climb, let's do something, but let's feel good about ourselves. So I want to build confidence in that way of where, hey, we're gonna get our work done and then we're gonna have some fun and we're gonna get some other work done. That mental work, that emotional work, that the work where we need to just talk about things. So two things I'm working on. They're on my brain, they're on my mind. I'm gonna obsess over it until I figure out how to do it. I have no idea how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it. That's where I'm at. I'm at it again, right where I was before.
That's excellent, and it's just a brand new chapter for you. I'm really excited about that. You know,
That's it.
as I mentioned, you're not looking for the money, you're not looking for the fame. You're just looking to share your message and just be a beacon of light for people who need your message. Cause when you're most down, again, you just look at everything in a very negative outlook. So just having that the learning with the fun, with those connected, and just bringing people in to see the joy in life, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Yeah, that's it. That's it, man. Like if someone said to me, Jordan, what is your dream? Like life, like I'll be like, this is my dream. I am living my dream. Like there's nothing like this is it. Like in my life right now, if you ask me what I wanted more of, like there's nothing I can ask more of. Like I have my family. I have the greatest job in the world where I'm able to support my family and help people. Like that's you can't I have time with my family and I can help all these people all over the country. Like I couldn't ask for a better situation, but it wasn't like it just came to me. Like I had to work towards it and I had to build it and I had to create it and I had to do things that were uncomfortable and try to figure things out. And I had to spend a lot of money to figure it out and everything that's hard to do when you start something, but it is worth it every day. Like, I couldn't picture myself doing anything else. Like, I did have a career where I didn't like it, and I'm like and I used to wake up every day, dude, and I'd be like, "This is not my life. There is no way." And I'm 36 now. I would always say this in my head, "There's no way I'm gonna be 40 and I'm doing this." There's no like 40 was so old, and I'm almost 40 now. I'm 36, but, like, I would think about, like, 40. I don't know why, but 40 was, like, the number. I'm like, "There's no way I'm 40 and I'm doing the same this thing. This is not like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even like I wake up, I don't even know why I'm doing it, right? But now I know why I'm doing something and it's like it's not even a job. I'm just like I wake up and I'm just like the greatest job in the world because it's not a job. It's just everything I wanted to do. So, yeah, I'm just super grateful that I found it, and I went for it. But that's why I encourage people like it's hard. Like it's like, hey, you got a dream, you want to tell people, hey, go for it, go do it, right? And I tell people to do it because I know what the alternative is. The alternative is you're gonna do something you don't like anyway, and you're gonna have to work just as much as you're gonna have to work at a job you don't like at a job you do like, right? So I know it. So why not give it all you have towards something, even though it's a harder road, even though it's an unpredictable road, an unknown road? Go towards something that you rather love doing, and maybe you're not gonna be able to figure out for the first 7, 8 years, but you're gonna enjoy it and help people and be passionate about it. You will find a way to support yourself and do what you love to do. Or you're gonna find a way to work somewhere that you don't. So it's one or the other, right? And, but it's scary because 'cause you're going towards that unknown track, than to the track where it's a little more safer bet that you're gonna be okay. So it's worth it, it really is.
That's very powerful. That's so. Let me ask you this: this whole conversation was amazing. If students, parents, after listening to this, and even going into the assemblies, what's the one idea you want them to remember for them to really help them out in life?
I think the one thing I really would want them to do in their life is to bet on themselves, right? To be all in on themselves. Like, bet on who you are. Even though you don't know yet who you are, you haven't proven to yourself yet who you are completely, but look at yourself in the mirror and really bet on you. Not anyone else, just all you. 100% you. Bet on you. Go for it. Believe in your ideas, believe in what you have to offer, and just be all in on you, and everything will work its way out. And that's what I want. I don't want people to change who they are. I want them to be who they are. I want them to be proud of who they are, and I want them to just bet on themselves, man, and be good to each other. And if they could just do that, if they could be good to everyone else, good to themselves, and bet on each other, I mean, the world is theirs, and that's what I want. That's what I want everyone to do. And I want them. They all deserve to get to that moment where they go, "Hey, like, it all makes sense, it all makes sense. It didn't make sense for a while, but now it does." And that's what I'm hopeful for everyone, because everyone deserves to live that life. Everyone deserves to be happy. Everyone deserves to feel that. And it's right there. It's right around the corner, but you got to bet on yourself. So that's the number one thing one does.
So why focus on the negativity? You should focus on the positivity. That's very powerful, Jordan. For anyone who's listening to this, what's the best place to reach you at?
You can reach me on Instagram on my name, Jordan Toma. So it's JordanT. The O is a zero, MA. And then I have a Facebook page. I'm just a kid with an IEP LLC. And then they can reach me on YouTube. Same thing, my name, Jordan Toma, or my LinkedIn. I'm on there. So I'm all over social media, or my website, jordantoma.com, if they want me to come speak at a school. And but I'm easy to get to. Just gotta reach
Thank
out,
you.
fill out a request, go to my email. I respond to everything.
Amazing. Thank you. And thank you everyone for tuning into the very first episode of Business Journey Unlocked. Be sure to like and follow to stay tuned for more episodes with leaders building the next generation of business. Thank you so much, Jordan.
You got it, Kevin. Thanks for bringing me on.
My pleasure.